All the mics are off.
Test 1 2 test 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Good. Hey, we're gonna get started again. Elsie, if you wouldn't mind giving us a recap right before the video went out. That last slide, maybe.
So this evening, we're here to adopt 19 tax rates. As I've explained, we've all of how to determine the tax rate to be $1.28, $100 value down since last year. Evening.
Elsie, and we had no speaker signed up to speak on this particular agenda item, but this time I'm gonna close public. On to 7A, be the proclamation for a week of suicide prevention. Time. We're going to recognize that Dr. Washington requested this proclamation, which will be considered as a consent agenda item later in this meeting. I want to first read the proclamation. Proclamation reads, Fort Worth Independent School District Board of Trustees resolution to proclaim September 9th through 14th, 2019 as The Future is Bright, a week of suicide prevention. Whereas the Fort Worth Independent School District high school students in the United Voices for Change program aspire to use student voices to make positive change in our communities and our school campuses. Whereas suicidal ideations can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, or background. Suicide deaths in Tarrant County have increased by 38.5% from 2008 to 2018. Suicide has become the third leading cause of death in children ages 1 to 17 in our county. Fort Worth ISD suffered the loss of 4 students to death by suicide last year. Whereas United Voices for Change is dedicated to reducing the frequency of suicide attempts through awareness activities and prevention education. They have joined the Suicide Awareness Coalition of Tarrant County, along with other entities, to organize activities from September 9th through 14th targeting suicide prevention. Whereas in Tarrant County, every child can have a bright future and know that they are important. Now be it resolved that the Fort Worth ISD Board of Trustees would like to formally request that the week September 9th to the 14th, 2019 be proclaimed as The Future is Bright, a week of suicide prevention. September 10th, 2019 is Suicide Awareness Day. Everyone is encouraged to wear red, acknowledging the importance of knowing the red flags of suicide. Now it be further resolved that the Fort Worth ISD Board of Trustees enthusiastically endorses and commits to engage in the suicide awareness activities in an effort to shed light on this stigmatized topic. I want to acknowledge and thank the United Voices of Change for the work done in bringing attention and focus to this important, serious topic. But all of you who are present with United Voices for Change, please stand. This time, we'd like to allow space for the president of United Voices for Change, Jocelyn Rojas, to speak.
Good evening, Board President Ramos, esteemed members of the board, and Dr. Scribner. I am Jocelyn Rojas, currently a junior at Marine Creek Collegiate High School and president of the Fort Worth ISD student organization, the United Voices for Change, also known as UV4C. We are so honored you have endorsed our student-designed idea to designate September the 9th to the 14th as a week of suicide prevention in the whole district. United Voices for Change is a led organization aspiring to make a positive change of our high school campuses and our communities. I have some of our UV4C officers and members here tonight with me. Please stand and be recognized again. Thank you. Fort Worth ISD students agree suicide prevention is a top priority. Many of our peers struggle with depressions and thoughts of suicide, and seeing the tragic impact in our friends and families of students who have died by suicide, we plan to positively impact our community by dedicating a week of suicide prevention. The future is bright. A week of suicide prevention is a week of activities, conversation, and education with the purpose of reducing the stigma of mental illness and teaching not only the students of Fort Worth ISD, but the Tarrant County about warning signs and someone at risk of suicide. UV4C students also desire to spread the word that everyone is important, welcomed in our community, and well, that the future is bright. I have provided with you a folder that contains a save the date for our student projects and review in the spring, along with a flyer that explains our week. I want to highlight suggested activities for campuses, September 9th through the 14th. So, Monday, wear green to support mental health. Tuesday, wear red, signifying the red flags of suicide. Wednesday, each campus will design their own day. Thursday, team up against suicide and wear your favorite team apparel. Also, Thursday evening, there will be a rally at the Forest Hill Civic Convention Center from 5:30 to 7 to encourage the use of community resources and again, promote understanding mental health issues. Friday, wear neon colors or collared shirts to represent that the future is bright. Saturday, the week will close out with a participation in the Out of the Darkness Walk at Clearport, sponsored by the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. There are many adults to thank for helping us raise the awareness of suicide in our community, including those involved in the Suicide Awareness Coalition of Tarrant County. We are grateful for a superintendent and the school board who recognizes the importance of student voice and student leadership. It is a privilege to be part of this community effort. Thank you for this proclamation, your participation in the week of activities, and for your time tonight.
Jocelyn and all the leaders of UV4C, thank you very much for your leadership. We appreciate it. We'll be moving on to 7B, the accountability to 2018-2019 report. Dr. Scribner, I think you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you very much, President Ramos and members of the Fort Worth ISD school community. And thank you again to Jocelyn and her colleagues for their leadership. The future is bright. Tonight's presentation represents last year's student performance. We do have some areas to celebrate, but we also have some areas that warranted the changes that we made over the summer. I'm optimistic about this new school year as we are now in the second week of school, and this new board and their leadership. Tonight's presentation will establish a new baseline and will begin to outline action steps. Among the first of which we will be bringing to you in September, in just a few weeks, a new recommendation for the positions of Chief Academic Officer, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, and Executive Director for Bilingual Education, ESL Service. At this time, to kick off our presentation, I'd like to introduce Ms. Sarah Arispe, our Associate Superintendent of Accountability.
Thank you, Dr. Scribner. Board, good evening. We're here to talk tonight about our state accountability ratings. The board will remember that ratings were released statewide districts in the new 8th FEFs on August 15th, a couple of weeks ago before school began. Just as a review, I know that we've looked at state accountability before, but this system is still fairly new, so I want to remind you how we come to our rating. We have an overall rating for each campus that is based on 3 domains. Domain 1 is called student achievement, and those are basically stars. Domain 2 has 2 parts, school progress, and domain 3 is called closing the gap. That's one of the ways we also meet our federal requirement. So schools in the district get an A through F rating on domain 1, They get 2 A through F ratings on Domain 2 on Part A and Part B. I'll give you a little bit more mind on that. And then closing the gaps. Those all come together to give the overall rating. So basically there are 5. So for 70% of the rating, we look at Domain 1, student achievement, Domain 2, school progress. Part A of Domain 2, school progress, is the academic growth of students in the areas of reading and mathematics. This is basically growth of a student from one year to the next year in each subject. Part B of school progress is relative performance, and that is the performance of the district relative to peer districts that have a similar percentage of economically disadvantaged, or a campus by level. So elementary are compared to other elementaries across the state, 5% ED, and high schools would be compared to other high schools so that they're comparable. For the district, to use an example, we'll say this year in the district, we had a 73 on our student achievement. For school progress, in Part A, we had a 60, which was a D on academic growth. But in Part B, we had an 83, a B, for relative performance. So compared to other districts that had a similar percentage of economically disadvantaged students, we did very well in comparison. The state looks at those 3 and picks the highest one to use as 70% of the rating for this campus. So that 83 becomes 70% of our overall rating. 30% of the rating then comes from closing the gap. This is where we look at the individual group. So we take our 83 and we had 71 in closing the gap, and those two come together for an overall scaled score of 79, a high C, and in fact that was 1/10 of a B. So we definitely have our sights on or higher next. For the last 3 years, this slide gives us what our rating would be as a district by numbers. We see that we've increased by 12 points over the last 2 years. So in 2017, we weren't actually rated. They did the what if ratings. If you remember back then, we would have been 67, went to 75, and then to 79 for that 12 overall. This slide shows us a breakdown by campuses. So we had on the bottom part of the slide, it tells you how many campuses by number in each rating, and the top part tells us by percent. So we had 11 campuses rated an A this year, 30 Bs, 51 Cs, 20 Ds, and 18 F. So overall, 71% of the campuses were rated A, B, C, or D. That other 29% become our priority focus schools that we will work on raising, providing them the resources they need. I also wanted to show you a little data on our STAR performance overall by student group. This is for the district summed across grade levels for reading and mathematics. So in the reading ELA, that means all students testing from 3rd grade all the way up through English in high school. And for mathematics, it includes grade 3 through Algebra 1. The yellow bar is the all students percent passing the test. African American is that light blue bar right after, Hispanic, white. And you'll see that we still have a lag or a gap in performance of our African students. The majority of our students are Hispanic in Fort Worth, and so that mirrors very closely the all students. We also look at certain student groups other than the ethnicity group, economic disadvantage, the current ELs or English learners, as well as special ed students. And you can see those comparisons for both reading and mathematics. And as the board is interested, we can provide more detail by grade or by subject on those, and they're available on the TA site as well. We also are introducing this year our school performance framework. So in addition to looking at the accountability ratings, we want to hold ourselves accountable for that academic excellence, but we want to make sure we're making progress toward our mission of literacy, mathematics, and post-secondary readiness, and also paying attention to our learning environment. We do that with our school surveys of teachers, students, and parents. We also look at the learning environment through our attendance and our discipline referral. We do this because we want to be sure that we are reallocating our resources out to our campuses in greatest need and providing that additional autonomy to schools that are already doing well. So our school performance framework, or you hear us say the SPF, will help us do that along with our ratings. And the ratings themselves contribute 50% of that. We have distributed our campuses once we ran the school performance framework from Tier 1, where we have 12 campuses, to Tier 5, where we have 11. The Tier 5 campuses are those that will receive additional support and reallocation of resources. And those 12 at the top in the 6 in Tier 2 will have more empowerment to do selected things that they want to do that is helping them to be successful. And that's why they are Tier 1 and Tier 2.
Board, as you know, the last 3 years we have engaged in systemic racial equity transformation in Fort Worth ISD. We are now embedding our equity work into the school performance framework. To support academic excellence, additional resources have been added to the Division of Equity and Excellence. Later on this evening, you're going to have the opportunity to approve the Executive Director of Equity and Learning. This individual, along with the Equities and Restorative Practice Specialist, will advance the equity work at the campus. To continue our work and to ensure that the equity work is truly advancing, our campus E-teams and care teams will review achievement, retention, referral data, as well as the attendance data that we've been working on, identifying any disproportionalities that they might find, and then develop a plan to address disproportionality. Recognizing the importance of having multiple perspectives, we know that it's important to have our student voice. So we're going to engage our source student in a conversation about their learning environment. And we've learned from previous experience and really even heard tonight, when our students bring us feedback, always valuable, and it's beneficial for us to listen to them as we move forward. Equally important, we're also going to have our parent voice. We want to hear their perspectives on the environment. So Dr. Scribner and the team will host 6 parent focus groups where parents will engage in conversations with the team about the learning environment of
the Texas Education Agency recently realigned work staff, clear vision for what students, schools, state do, so that also students in Texas are successful. The ESF supports schools and districts' continuous improvement efforts by providing the basis for clear diagnostic process and the foundation for alignment of resources support the needs of schools. As you can see from the diagram, the core of effective schools is effective instruction. Students, teachers, and content determine the learning. The instructional core is our main lever, and it's strengthened and supported by the 3 levers. Is effective well teachers, high quality curriculum, effective school. The 5th lever surrounding 4 levers is strong school leadership, planning, compass, and ensure each of these are prioritized. Actually, today, tomorrow, principals, executive director, school leadership, the Region 11 training, the Effective Schools Framework, expectations from the state to follow-up items from the state. In addition, this year, Dr. Washington and I have embedded 5 levers to our monthly principal meeting. The principal meetings have been mapped out for the school year in conjunction with our curriculum department. In fact, 80% of the meetings will comprise of in-depth overview of the new curriculum for each week, provide principals with look-fors, provide targeted support for their team. Intentional planning is leveraged in conjunction with the school performance framework, RISPA shared, to ensure that alignment and support of our schools. In addition, you can see from the slide for elementary school leadership, we will provide differentiated support for our priority campuses, which are Tier 4 and 5 school performance. Will be delivered in conjunction with elementary literacy. Targeted priority campuses will meet with their executive director, progress monitoring up on their 3rd grade reading, discuss problems of practice as they address challenges that may arise as they're. Secondly, school leadership will conduct Monday walks in conjunction with our curriculum Equity Division, these walks will provide us with implementation evidence to continuously improve coaching and support of the campus. Finally, we will provide targeted coaching and feedback to leaders by prioritizing school leadership executive directors to serve priority schools with a high frequency at school campus.
You, Dr. Dr. Pena. We are not only front-loading training for teachers, but for our administrators and executive directors as well. Next week, chiefs, executive directors, and identified principals will attend professional learning sessions focused on Paul Bambrick's leverage leadership instruction. Additionally, executive directors will spend the day sharpening their skills in Bambrick's leverage leadership for principal managers. This training will guide the work on the following secondary priorities. First, increasing student achievement, student academic growth in the areas of Algebra 1, English 2, and our most critical area of 6th and 7th grade math reading. Executive directors will lead coaching sessions with principals to assist with the campus development systems to progress monitor individual growth and growth for all student groups. Additionally, leadership PDs, the equity teams, and principals will engage in weekly campus walks to observe and provide feedback to promote high quality. Our next goal, increase English proficiency rate at least 1 year's growth. Campuses will identify English language learners who did not meet the growth in the 2019 school year. Curriculum and instruction will work with administrators and teachers to provide targeted plans that will incorporate listening, reading, speaking, and writing daily activities for all English language learners. College, career, and military readiness is a major component in our accountability rating. Counselors, principals, and executive directors have worked collaboratively to ensure that the class of 2020 seniors are scheduled in courses that will meet college, career, and military readiness. Progress monitoring for success will occur throughout the year. Finally, we will offer differentiated supports for all Tier 4 and 5 campuses. Executive directors will spend 75 to 80% of their time coaching principals of DNF campuses on effective feedback, implementing systems to track student achievement, ensuring fidelity to curriculum, and promoting positive campus climate and culture. Differentiated support will also include these principals receiving monthly curriculum and instructional updates and look-forwards to ensure effective teaching and learning is occurring every day. Concentrating on these 4 high-leverage priorities, strategies, and actions will increase student achievement at the secondary level. Mr. Moore.
In collaboration with school leadership, the Academics Division will be intentional about our support of campuses and the Effective Schools Framework. And we will also be intentional about our support for curriculum and instruction. Beginning last spring, we met with principals and then with teachers. Listening to our teachers and principals resulted in the plan we are sharing with you tonight. Not only do our academic priorities address the feedback we received from our teachers and principals, but they directly respond to last year's state accountability results, which we just shared. This response creates alignment between resources, programs, and instructional support. It provides professional learning for our teachers and those who support teaching and learning here in Fort Worth ISD. And all of this while keeping the most important factors in the forefront of our minds, supporting teachers and realizing improved student outcomes. Just 2 weeks ago, we told you about our newly created online curriculum. That's at the top of our priority list, and it's not by coincidence. This was the #1 need we heard from our teachers. And we're proud of the product that we delivered for day 1 this school year. Now that teachers have engaged with our curriculum for a few weeks, we're going back to hear from our teachers again and see what they really think. We heard positive comments, but we want to hear more. Once we have a chance to talk with our teachers, we'll be coming back to you and sharing what we learned. As you see here, it's all about instructional support for our teachers. Establishing a lead content teacher program, which aligns with our district goals. Aligning our instructional coaching efforts under one common model. developing a foundational literacy academy to train all literacy teachers in Fort Worth ISD, and redesigning a bilingual ESL program that provides greater support for teachers are all new instructional support efforts that will be in place this school year in support of student performance. First, let's talk about our lead content teacher plan. For many years, Fort Worth ISD staffed at the central office level content-specific instructional support. In recent years, we sent staff back out to the campus. This did not allow us to maintain the same level of support at the district level. But this decision actually presents an opportunity to improve the way we support teachers at all of our schools. Who better to provide support for our own teachers than the expert teachers that are already on our campus? Those teachers who are successfully working with our students every day. We will identify master teachers in elementary, 2 literacy teachers, 1 at the early childhood level, 1 at the intermediate level, and 1 math teacher. At the middle school level, we'll identify 2 math teachers connecting to our district goals and 1 literacy teacher. And at the high school level, we will identify 1 teacher in each of our 4 core content. These teachers will receive professional learning from our curriculum department that they would then redeliver to teachers on their campus. We will invest in our teachers' knowledge and experience and provide them the tools to be a content support for other teachers at. This opportunity will be open to any teacher to apply, but we will thoroughly evaluate between the principal and content expert, selected teachers, and those teachers will receive an additional stipend for their participation in professional learning, the redelivery of that learning to teachers on their campus, and the support that they're providing to the teachers. We'd also like to develop, or like to share with you, the development of an aligned instructional coaching. As we began digging into our instructional support processes, we discovered that last year, Fort Worth ISD teachers were receiving up to 8 different types of instructional coaching. You can imagine what 8 types of coaching support did for our teachers. In many cases, confused. We now have the opportunity to bring all of our coaching efforts together under one common model. We will bring our instructional support together underneath an instructional initiatives framework to provide the needed support, but in a useful manner. This year, we will utilize the new teacher-centered coaching model, a model that was successfully used in our Fort Worth Children's Partnership campuses last year, but we will be using that in all Fort Worth ISD. Later on tonight's agenda, you will have the opportunity to approve our recommendation for the Executive Director of Instructional Initiatives, a leader who will work to align all of this coaching. Let's look at our Literacy Academy initiative. Our Literacy Academy initiative will also be a part of our instructional initiative work. In support of our 100 by 25 initiative, we will create and enact a 30-hour foundational literacy academy every teacher who teaches literacy here in Fort Worth ISD. This year, we will begin with pre-K through 3rd grade teachers. Our new Executive Director of Instructional Initiatives will work with our curriculum leaders to define and develop a professional learning plan that trains teachers and develop a professional learning plan that will provide the skills, instructional strategies, and resources to effectively implement best practice. Our goal will be to begin our literacy academies before the start of the spring semester, so this work can impact teaching and learning and our students this school. Finally, we're working to provide greater support to our bilingual and ESL. We are currently working to identify a common high-quality dual language model that will be embraced by all. We're also redesigning ESL support for our secondary campus. Our goal must be to provide students with the language support needed at an early age to ensure students are performing on. We're fortunate to have increased funding this past legislative session and are developing a tools that provide instructional assistance at early grades for our priority campuses. Those campuses showing the most need at the early grade in both dual language classrooms and our regular programs.
So we've heard in detail about what we're doing this year to respond to the report from last year, I wanted to say that there is also some positive news to highlight for both the district and the campuses. As we look across the 2 years from 2017 to 2019, I wanted to show you that we have seen an increase in the number of campuses at the A rating level and an overall decrease over the 2-year period in the campuses at the DNF. We know that we still have work to do there to further reduce those numbers of these campuses. We have campuses that are shining across the district. This slide shows you our 11 A-rated campuses. You'll notice Bonnie Bray with over 93% economic disadvantaged A campus this year, along with Westcliff, Burton Hill, Lily B. Clayton, and Tanglewood. And at the secondary level, the board has invested a great deal in our programs and schools of choice. 6 of our secondary schools of choice have earned the A rating. Marine Creek, Young Men's Leadership Academy, Young Women's, Tarrant County College South High School, the Texas Academy of Biomedical Sciences, sorry about that, and our new I Am Terrell VPA STEM Academy. So in its first year of rating, earned an A rating. And you'll see there that those reflect our district percent ED, especially the Marine. We also have campuses that on top of high ratings have earned academic distinctions. On the right-hand side of your slide, you see some of the distinctions a campus can earn in academic for the 4 core content areas, as well as academic growth, post-secondary readiness, and closing gap. Burton Hill Elementary received all 6 distinctions that it was eligible for. Westcliff received 5 out of the 6, and Tanglewood also received 5 out of 6. And finally, I Am Terrell, again, in its first year, received 5 of the distinctions possible for that campus. Haskell, Trimble Tech, Young Women's, and Tabs all received 5 out of 7 distinctions that they were eligible. I want to call out and highlight those schools and their positive achievements. That's the end of our presentation this evening, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Evans?
So much for your report. I want to
could you send me or send us a list of schools?
Yes,
See where they.
we definitely will be happy to do that. And there is some alignment as you there. Be happy to.
Trustee Lewanis?
Thank you, President Ramos. Thank you for this report. I just had a quick question. Can you clarify the difference between Tier 5 and just
Question. Thank you. And as we're rolling out the school performance framework, I know those are questions that we need to be prepared to answer. So the Tier 5 campuses could equal the F campuses, or they could be close to that, because the overall rating of the campus contributes 50% to the school performance framework. And if a school is rated low in the state accountability system, that's 50%. But they may be doing very well on their mission of achieving progress in math and reading, and they may have a good learning environment. They may get points there, where another campus that might have a slightly higher state rating could have less points in those 2 areas. And so in response to Trustee Evans' question, when I send you that school performance framework, I will also send for each of the schools right to it what their state accountability rating is, so that you can see that there is alignment there, but it's not a one-to-one alignment.
Trustee Robbins?
Thank you, President Ramos. Thank you for this information. When do we expect to have the lead content?
Great question. The lead content teachers will be identified middle of September What we're looking for are teachers that are actually in the classroom right now. We don't want to pull those teachers out of the classroom. We just want to leverage their expertise with some additional training, stay in the classroom, but continue support of. We identify the middle of September. We expect to start training before the second 6-week drop.
Trustee Andar.
Thank you, President Ramos. Thank you for this report. A couple of questions. One is in soliciting feedback regarding the curriculum, are we doing this focus group? Are we doing this with widespread surveys across the district? How are we soliciting that?
Actually going to do both. The first step will be a survey out to everyone, so we need who's using our curriculum. Then we'll also be setting up ongoing here that would like.
But I would love to see the data, especially from the comments that teachers make and data that's collected from the surveys that are being written out. Very powerful and important information.
We'll make sure to bring it back.
Another question is regarding the parent focus groups on page 12. You said there's going to be 6 parent focus groups. Are these school specific, or are they kind of regional groups that anybody can participate in?
So, Ms. Barr, I'll answer. Yeah. Actually, Ms. Griffin and her engagement department have selected our priority on our. They'll be going out campuses, getting the back. Start with that. See what back get. Receiving. Really want to start our which are DNF.
Is that elementary through high school? Or?
We'll get to you the list.
Curious. Norm asked one of. Then my last question was with the literacy academies. Who is designing those academies? How are they being put together?
That's a great. So we are actually bringing later tonight a recommendation for for initiatives. That would be the person that would be working collaboratively with our literacy curriculum leaders here at the district. We want it to be an internally created literacy academy that hits both on alignment with our curriculum and our resources, but tied to best practices and foundation, using any resources that we currently have. So we will create that internally and then redeliver that starting in the spring.
If I may, President Ramos, the other piece, well, I think it's important that we learn from those schools that have been successful. Bonnie Bray with over 90% advantage school, Westcliff 78, Worth Height 89. They also have north 90%. It can be done. The issue is not the student, the and willingness.
Dr. Scribner, looks like we have no more questions or comments from the board. Thank you very much for the presentation. This time we will hear public comment. Let me remind you that because of the restrictions by the Texas Open Meetings Act, board members may not engage in a verbal exchange about a subject that has not been posted. We will listen and take notes. The board is prohibited from responding to any inquiries made during a board meeting on any topic not posted on the agenda. However, the board may reply with 1, a statement of specific factual information given in response to the inquiry, 2, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry, or 3, direct a person to visit with staff about the issue. While the board listens to concerns of a general nature and issues of common and individual concern, the board will not hear complaints about specific individual employees or public officers during the public comment session. Speakers shall refrain from mentioning names of individual employees or public officers during their comment. Any employee, parent, or other member of the public is asked to comply with the appropriate grievance policy to have a complaint heard pursuant to the applicable board policy. In accordance with board policy BED local, speakers shall have a 3-minute time limit and I ask that you please observe this rule. Furthermore, a speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another speaker. Delegations of 5 or more persons shall appoint one person to present their views before the board with the time not to exceed 5 minutes. We've got handful of public comments, so I'm going to read out 2 names at once. I'm going to ask the first person to come to a podium, second person to go to the other one, and then we'll continue as so. So first speaker is going to be Robert Baker. Robert Baker will be followed by Alyssa Pollard. So if Alyssa would take the other microphone in preparation after Robert Baker's time is ended.
Ready?
Sure.
Good evening.
Evening.
I want to say I appreciate you men wearing the ties, showing respect for the table in this room. Wish that every man would wear a tie when he's coming to this table. I'm coming to you because I have some concerns that needs to be brought to your attention. First, I know you may have remembered me from last year, and my concern was that I wanted you guys to keep our kids out of their pajamas in school. And I hope that it's being corrected. Don't allow kids to go to school in their pajamas. All right. I want to give another assignment to the board member. I don't know if you do it, but I'd like to see you go to your schools in your district. Because a couple of times I've come before you, I've always heard these past board members say, I didn't know it. Well, I think if you meet with go in these schools and for yourself, you might see some things that you can change. You can help. Please put this on your assignment list. Go to your school in your district. One of the concerns I have also is we're always talking about building. And I see a list of improvement on a sheet every day or every time I come in here. But I want you to know something. This year is going to be a totally different ball for me. I have to get with my neighborhood association to demand that our school grounds maintain an outstanding appearance. I will. It's a shame the way our school grounds are looking. It's a shame. We're always building when we got enough responsibility to take care of what we have. So let's do that. I want to talk about restoring the dress code staff. It's important that our kids see staff dressed for success. We got some staff coming to school that shouldn't be doing it the way they're doing it. Sandals.
Thanks, sir. Next is Alyssa Pollard. Alyssa will be followed by John McFarland.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Pollard, and I'm an 8th grader at Young Women's Leadership Academy. Today, I'm here to bring to your attention about a bus situation. There are students sitting on the floor by the emergency exit, students sitting through to a seat, students who are sitting on the floor in the aisle. I don't know if you know, but last week a school bus at my school got hit by a city bus, and if that were my bus, there are students sitting by the emergency exit, and if we would have gotten hit, that could have been, someone could have got hurt, and that could have been a lawsuit, and that would have been okay. This is unacceptable, definitely unsafe. I don't feel safe on my bus after hearing about that accident, especially knowing that we are overcrowded on this bus. I feel like there could be something done rather than just putting a whole bunch of students on one bus. We are sharing a bus with another high school. But I feel, like I said, there could be something done about this because it's definitely not safe. And how would you feel like if your son or daughter was put on this bus, knowing that they're sitting with 3 students or possibly even on the floor or even by the emergency exit? So I just wanted to leave y'all with that question, just to think about how would you feel, like how would you feel if your daughter or your son were sitting on the floor, especially knowing with this accident with the bus. I do have pictures if you would like to see the this is on the afternoon bus. The morning bus is not as bad, but the afternoon bus is definitely very crowded. We have 20 stops while others only have 6. And it's definitely, now that it's really hot outside, it's very hot. But it's just not safe, and I don't think it's Thank you.
Next is John. John will be followed by Ms. Juanita Salinas.
Of 2 children at Daggett Montessori School in the Fairmount neighborhood. I'm here today to speak about a request that the board create a sustainability committee. As several weeks ago, I sent a letter to Dr. Scribner, and then I sent the letter to Ms. Daniels to forward to each of you. The letter was signed by myself as the chair of the Greater Fort Worth Sierra Club, the Tarrant Coalition for Environmental Awareness, and the PTA, Daggett Montessori PTA. So how did I get here, and how did I write a letter to Dr. Scribner about a sustainability? So as a member of the Sierra Club, the National Sierra Club rolled out a campaign late last year, called 100% Renewable Energy. And I'm a big environmentalist and care about our environment and try to do everything I can to have a small footprint and try to combat climate. And so this letter kind of outlined about 8 or 9 categories of issues that the ISD can work on, because and as part of that campaign, that 100% renewable energy campaign, I put together a community meeting, and out of that meeting, the community thought that addressing sustainability through the Fort Worth ISD would be a great idea. One reason is because the Fort Worth ISD has a huge footprint within our city. We have lots of buildings, lots of facilities, lots of vehicles that employees drive around. And so we felt that addressing sustainability issues with the ISD would be very important. So several weeks ago, me and some colleagues met with Art Cavazos and some of his staff, senior staff, regarding some initiatives that we'd like the ISD to take advantage of. I won't go into all of them, but one of them is transitioning to renewable energy, like purchasing energy from a renewable source, transitioning our fleet or your fleet to electric or hybrid vehicles to kind of decrease our footprint, the Fort Worth ISD's footprint. At Daggett Montessori, I'm the Green Team parent, and we have initiated a No Idle campaign where we're trying to stop parents from idling because those emissions are right at ground level near our children. And so I'm here tonight to request that the ISD create a sustainability. Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Ms. Juanita Salinas. Juanita will be followed by Bishop M.D. Kirkland.
Good evening, Superintendent and President and Board of Directors. My name is Juanita Salinas, Chair of the 54th Annual Hispanic Heritage Month Mexican Independence Day Parade. I am here to make these announcements to y'all, the Fort Worth ISD School Board in person. On behalf of myself and our parade corps chair, Tony Vasquez, and our committee, the following Fort Worth ISD High School's marching bands: Northside High School, Coral Riverside High School, Diamond Hill Jarvis High School, Polytech High School, along with the hundreds of participants, school clubs, and various organizations. We're supposed to march in this year's parade 54 years. That was scheduled on September the 14th, 2019. After our last meeting, it was decided that we should not move forward with the 2019 Hispanic Heritage Month Mexican Independence Day Parade. This parade date comes too close to the tragedy in El Paso due to the scale of a parade route encompassing most of downtown Fort Worth. We felt it would be unsafe with the hatred in the American today, with a heavy police presence. One incident would be one too many. This parade has always been a parade for the children to remember and celebrate their heritage. The safety of our children come first. We hope to continue next year. Thank you for understanding. Juanita Salinas and the Mexican Independence Parade. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Juanita. Next, we have Bishop, and then we'll be followed by Arnoldo Hurtado.
I have three things real quick, and I scurry off to City Hall. The first item is our church is located at 1732 Liberty Street. Right across the street, we own a property at 5500 Willie Street, and that property is being used by the Young Men's Leadership Academy. Talking to Archiverso in his office for quite a while with maybe partnering with that property. It's in terrible condition because when it's raining, it's, and somebody needs to just check on that when it's in terrible conditions because your teachers and your staff uses that property more than we do, and it needs some serious attention. Item number two, Dr. Sims retired and resigned or what have you. I want to make sure that that appointment or that assignment is not a political move, that seat needs to be occupied by someone who has the pulse of our village and our community. So I really want this board to take a very long, conscious look at who is going to sit in that seat. And there are a couple individuals I know who are feet on the ground, and the parents know them, the students know them, and we need to really look at someone viable and not a politician for that seat. Lastly, we celebrate this year from 1690 to 2019, 400 years of a people in this country. And we all didn't come here in the hulls of slave ships. Matter of fact, in Hampton, Virginia, that there were free men and women who came over in their own property, but because of the greed of the European people, they took homes and they took businesses away from people in my village and made them slaves. I make that point to say this, that Fort Worth, I'm appalled at the arrogance, the lack of accountability, I've heard that word, that this district has shown in regard to the request from the NAACP that they wanted to know what is going on with the firing of so many African American principals in our district. And due to the arrogance of this board and this superintendent, you guys have not responded to the NAACP's request on what is going on with African American and some Hispanic principals. One, and you said no names, but she resigned. You happened to be my niece, and I won't call Dr. Harris's name, but we need to figure out exactly what's going on, and there has to be some accountability in what's going on with our African American principals. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you next week. God bless.
Next, we have Arnoldo. Arnoldo will be followed by Joe Dufault.
Good evening, President Ramos and the board and Superintendent Dr. Scribner. My name is Arnoldo Hurtado. I'm from the north side of Fort Worth, and this is my third time being here in a row. And the reason I am here is because I have to hunch otherwise. This is my third time being here because something hasn't been addressed by the school board, and that is the act of removing a full-time teacher, an art teacher from Metro Opportunity High School. And so I sort of want to do a quick review of what we've talked about. So those of you who are present, it's very important that the public here, the community, knows what's going on behind doors, because I'm more speaking to you now today because it seems like our words are falling on deaf ears, perhaps. So I'm going to address this a little more to the community of Fort Worth, and I hope you can back us up so we can back each other up and all of our causes. They removed a program, an art program at Metro Opportunity High School. Metro Opportunity High School is an alternative education program school. That's where a lot of students who are suffering some traumas, they're suffering in school, they're suffering with their families, they get sent to these schools. And a lot of us know some of these students, perhaps family members, perhaps neighbors. And so when they go to these schools, they have a chance through the art program that Joe Defoe created for 9 years at Metro Opportunity High School to really reflect, to heal some of these traumas. I know a lot of us have taken art, whether it be through music, through dance, through creative processes, and it's been a healing process for us. Well, as soon as Joe Defoe had to leave for a family emergency, the reaction of the school board, this is how things work. They were just waiting for the opportunity for that person to leave to destroy the art program there. They did it like that. Like they were waiting. Now, I'm not saying this is on purpose, but that's perception, and perception is a powerful thing. Now, you mount evidence to this, and you're saying, what's really going on here? They're creating two equity positions. Does that sound equitable to you, to create 2 full-time positions for adults, but take away from students an art program? That doesn't sound equitable to me. You look at the bigger picture as well, and you see some things like the money. It comes down to money and numbers. That's what I've been told when I reach out to the secondary leadership of the Fort Worth ISD. It's all about numbers. They don't have enough numbers at Metro. But yet they have millions of dollars to continue litigation with this Arlington Heights principal or vice principal, Joe Palazzolo. So like, when you look at the bigger picture of things, where's the money going? Not to our students, going somewhere else. Be aware, please. Thank you.
Next is Joe Defoe. Joe will be followed by Keith Ennis.
Good evening, everyone, and Mr. Ramos, Dr. Scribner, and you wonderful board members. I am here also to talk about the Metro's art program. I wasn't here last month because I was in Chicago, and so I'm happy to be here today. Metro is an alternative high school. When kids get in trouble in high school, whether it's on campus or off campus, felonies or whatever, they are sent to JJ, to Kimbo, and then to Metro. We have a small amount of kids, but it gives us the opportunity to have small classrooms so we can reach these kids. I saw a lot of healing going on. I was the art teacher there for 8 years, and it was an amazing experience to sit with those kids. Moms on crack, dads in jail. I'll share that time with them. I watched my mom get sold for sex in the back of a convenience store so we could eat. This is happening. You would not believe. My dad sold me for crack. This is happening to our children. And I think, I hear all of your numbers and all your statistics and all you rating your schools. Well, you want to get to the kids? Then be there. Loving teachers, people who care about the kids, programs that care about the kids. Change your kid's life and a child. Show him that you care, and he will work for you. And so we need counselors. We need people there working with those kids. I'd love to come back with Fort Worth ISD. I left because my daughter was ill and she passed away in June. Well, as a person who retired in December, I can come back next semester. I want to come back. I love the students of Fort Worth ISD. What really kind of bothered me today, we have Metro for high school, we have mid-level for the junior high, I called it junior high in my day. But, well, they kept their art teacher because they had someone who was on their staff as the vice principal, and then they went as an administrator, a director. So they fought to keep the program at mid-level, but they didn't fight to keep the program at Metro. And Metro is the same as mid-level. It's just high school and not middle school. What they're doing right now is they're paying the full-time art teacher at mid-level to go early in the morning before the middle school kids come and do a 45-minute class real fast. They pay them $21 extra to teach at Metro. Well, you talk about equity.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, if you're going to give a program to mid-level, I think you should give one to Metro. Save these kids.
Next, we have Keith Annis. Keith left. Next, we have Brandy Cunningham, and then followed by Beverly Fletcher.
Hi, I'm Brandy Cottingham. I'm the Executive Director of VRC. This is also my third time. I came back to support who I believe, after working with these women for many years, as Joe Defoe as an expert and Beverly Fletcher as an expert. These are women that have been on the front line doing these things. And so, of course, when they call and they say, we need to stand for our children, then I am right here with them. Last time I spoke with you all, I only got halfway through my story of Loomis, who is a Fort Worth ISD student who was brought to me because he was not being able to be reached, and he was labeled as defiant. And so I brought some visuals because I wanted to show the visual of what art did for Loomis. So when Loomis came to me, he was asked to paint a universe. And this was Loomis's universe. So his sister was asked to do the same project, and she, of course, did the planets. Loomis, this piece was sent to a clinical psychologist because I wanted to make sure that the programming that I wrote for Loomis was not going to cause more trauma, but was actually going to help to heal him and connect with him and get this kid opened up and touch him and affect him in a positive way. So she also said the same thing that I intuited about this child, which was that there was severe learning differences and trauma, and we're learning this through his art. So then Loomis created, as he worked, he created something like this. So it's really, it's disproportionate. It's the coloring isn't, his logical mind clearly is in trauma. Things aren't very realistic, and he's having trouble with placement. And so we know that there's some things going on with learning differences. Current Fort Worth ISD, fourth grade. No, he came to my art program. Okay. Well, then I'll just show my art. Okay, I'll do that. So after spending a summer camp, then I have children that continue to work on through their art, and they tend to. What we see is that their brain starts to heal and balance. They can communicate visually in a more effective way. Their coloring's appropriate. Their placement starts to be appropriate. We're signing our name Loomis. By the end of the summer, though, what we get is this. This is signed by Samuel. Samuel appears by the end of the 2-month camp. And it is, so by the end of summer, we have this. So what I'm finding on the front line with these kids is that maybe sometimes art is put as a secondary subject. But what I believe is that it is absolutely the subject that is so important. And when we talk about suicide,
Beverly's next. Beverly will be followed by Cedric Huckabee.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to come back to support these young people. And I say hello to you, President Ramos. And I say I'm very grateful to the esteemed board members. And of course, Dr. Scribner knows how I feel about him. He's one in a million and the best superintendent in the world. And I hope you can quote me on that. It's a pleasure to be here for one reason, and that is to support these young people. I feel kind of like their mom. You know, they don't have a mom that can come up here, and I am retired, and I have not a lot of time, but I am excited about putting that time where it's important and where the students would benefit. So it is in my heart to say we're going to keep coming and keep supporting this because it's so important for these young people. Now, I'm approaching this a little differently tonight because I do have a booklet for you, and I wanted to go over that first. I decided, well, perhaps we need to approach this in a way of accountability, and I've heard that word tonight several times. Accountability. What is accountability? It means doing the right thing, but not only that, because it is by law, state mandated. So in your folder, if you'll look on the left side, we have the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills Art TEKS. Oh, I must have touched something. Those are all mandated. These TEKS have to be supported in any art program. They have to be provided. It includes 4 strands, art history, cultural heritage, creative expression, observation, perception, and evaluation. So we can't take creative expression out of the art program. That means making art. All of that is very important, and it is very intense and in depth. So I wanted to give you that in case you hadn't had a chance to see that. And of course, it is mandated. We have to have that by state law. Isn't that true? Isn't that what we have to support, right? The other part of the folder on the right side, I did a little research. And because Metro is an alternative school, there are many rules and regulations and mandates from the Commissioner of Education. One of those mandates that I found was there is a limit to the number of students that can be a ratio of student-teacher. So the limit is 15-1. Yesterday, I called the school. They already have 15. They have 15 students, 1 period, and 1 teacher. So what are you going to do in 3 weeks when more children come? Okay, thank you for doing the right thing. Please enjoy this booklet that I put together for you.
Thank you, Beverly. Next, we have Cedric Huckabee.
Good evening, President Ramos and Dr. Scribner. I'm coming along with them to advocate for the Metro Art Program. And I've been here once, but today I want to talk from 2 perspectives. I want to speak from the perspective of a professor from the University of Texas at Arlington, and from the perspective of an artist. From the perspective of a professor, I want to speak on the importance of the creative learning that happens in art class. From the professor's standpoint, as I travel around to different colleges to speak, one of the things that I've noticed that's happening in those colleges is maker spaces. They all are investing in maker spaces, and those spaces are spaces where creative thinkers, from architects, designers, to all of the realms of education come in to create. And those who have an art education are able to prosper in those kind of spaces better than those who are not. And with the kids there at Metro, giving them the opportunity to grow that artistic side and that creative side will prepare them for the future, in which many and most of these institutions that are going to are investing in those spaces. And it's the creative side that in the realm of education is the thing that is sort of needed at this point. Like, the informational side is one thing, but in terms of our nation, our educational systems, in comparison to other nations, it's the creative thinkers that are going to allow our thinkers to go ahead. And so I think that the art programs are more important than we know, because it expands the students' creative thinking. Along with that, from the standpoint of an artist, there's something today called socially engaged art. And what socially engaged art is, it's a collaborative, participatory kind of art that involves people. And through these socially engaged artists, there's artists like Rick Lowe in Houston, who started Project Row Houses, or Theaster Gates in Chicago, who works with house projects that engage the community. And these artists are really transforming the communities throughout our nation. And I say that to say that their creativity and the creative thinking, it starts in the art class. If we can really build that art education to go along with the other aspects of education, it helps them to be better thinkers in whatever field they're going into. And I think that, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank everyone for sharing your thoughts tonight. We will now recess and reconvene in a board conference room. Room, and is now reconvened at 7:08 p.m. in the open session in the board conference room with a quorum present. Looking at the discussion of agenda items, consent agenda items, do we have any questions from the board on consent agenda?
B14 is the Girls Inc. contract. If y'all could just give me a little bit of history. Here we're paying half and they're half. Has that historically been the arrangement, or?
Yes, it has been since we've been working with Girls Inc. There is, we pay so much and then they have matching funds.
Okay.
So that is correct.
Okay.
You have additional questions I was going to share a little more about?
Well, yeah, go ahead. I see their numbers allow for a lot of growth, and I have a question about once we get past the 150 families that we're serving, or that they're serving, but go ahead.
Now, is this Girls Inc. or Con Madre?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That
Okay.
was Pommy Madre.
Okay.
The Girls Inc.
Okay. With Girls Inc., we started off with 11 targeted schools that were, and our focus was really on reducing referral and suspension rates of the schools. But we also know that Girls Inc. has a history of working with girls empowerment, so they embed this in there. And so we have seen growth in the targeted young ladies. First, it was 370 targeted young ladies. Now, through the movement and different things, girls at different campuses, we don't have all of the girls still in the program, but those that are there and still participating, we do see growth. And when I say growth, I mean in their academic performance growth and decreases in their suspensions and referrals.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Robbins?
Thank you, President Ramos. To kind of tag on that, there's a focus on African American girls, correct?
Any girl, we had criteria in the beginning, and we continue with that. Any young lady that had 3 or 4 office referrals and 2 or more suspensions, and we started in January of 2018. So it was any young lady that had that that met that criteria. We've maintained, but we didn't want it to be perceived as the troubled girl club. So we invited other young women because some of the activities, many of the activities are really a lot of fun, and other young ladies wanted to participate.
Right. Is there any way we could see results from this program?
Yes, we do have results. Work very
Behavioral,
closely.
any kind of result that would.
Yes, absolutely. We can get.
I think that would be helpful. And is there a plan to expand this, or is it going to stay at the relative level of 350 or whatever it is?
Yes, we have. This year we have 8 schools participating. We started with 11, so certainly we can look at expanding. But we have some other programs, as you see, with one another when it's coming and working with, but not necessarily with discipline, but with the other 8 young ladies in other ways.
Okay. Thank you. My other question had to do with item 11B8 on page 95, where we pay for the College Board exams. Is there any way we could see or get a link to the video that was created by the College Board that featured our kids. I didn't realize that had been done. And it's a nationally, as I would assume, a nationally scoped project.
There's David. David can give you more information on that.
Hi,
How you doing, sir?
Great. How are you?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I was walking in from back here.
The College Board, it's great that we provide all
Yes,
of
sir.
our kids an opportunity to take the College Board exams. There was a video made of that included some of our students by the College Board. Is there any way we could see that video?
We can certainly get that for you. I will find out which video that is. And
Just
get
a
that to you
link
guys.
or anything. I think it would be great to have better better awareness of all that.
Yes, sir.
And
Definitely.
be very proud of our.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all.
A couple. One is the B3 about the HVAC systems and the support agreements for the district's HVAC systems. It mentioned Altiron and Logical Solutions in the paperwork, but then the contract was from Climatech. Is that all one company? Are they three different companies?
It's two different companies.
Okay.
Allerton and Climatech, same, and then Logic Solution, also known as LSI, is the other one.
Okay. And who supervises these repairs? I hear a lot I get a lot of feedback from constituents that there seems to be consistent problems with HVAC systems and working, and I know that many of the systems that we have in our district are very old. Who's supervising the work that these companies are doing? Is that Fort Worth ISD, or do they do that on their own?
It is Fort Worth ISD and the synergistic staff help evaluate and make.
Okay. I also found a typo. This is not related to the HVAC thing. On D at the bottom, they approved the Memorandum of Understanding for Aero Robotics. It says that Dr. Kent Scribner works for Strawn ISD, and I'm not okay with that. It's on page 208, so we need to fix that typo.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, any other questions from the board on consent agenda? Okay, so this concludes the discussion of consent agenda items. We will now recess for executive session in the board conference room. For executive session is authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code under sections 551.071, .072, .074, and .076.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Test. Audio test 1 2. Audio check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8.
Mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Mic check 1 2 3. Yeah, I know. We have a Zoom recorder, so it's going to have audio. Mic check.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Okay, now we're in position.
Test 1 2. 1 2. Test 1 2 3 4. Audio check 1 2 3 4. Audio check 1 2 3 4.
Mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check. Young Artists Collective Metro Opportunity.
Notice to hereby given on that on August 27th, the Board of Education of Fort Worth Independent School District will hold a regular meeting beginning at 5:30 p.m. at the Fort Worth Independent School District Board Complex, 2903 Shop Street, Fort Worth, Texas. The subject of to be discussed or considered or upon which any formal action may be taken are listed on the agenda, which is made part of this notice.
Sounded like
Mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Do you want to read? Notice is hereby given that on August 27th, 2019, the Board of Education of the Fort Worth Independent School District will hold a regular meeting beginning at 5:30 p.m. at the Fort Worth Independent School Board Complex, 2903 Shots Street, Fort Worth, Texas. Subjects to be discussed or considered or upon which any formal action may be taken are listed on the agenda, which is made a part of this notice. Keep reading. Fort Worth Independent School District agenda, 5:30 p.m. Call regular meeting to order in the boardroom. Pledges, public hearing on proposed 2019 tax. Public comment on proposed 2019-2020 tax. Closed public hearing. Recognition. Recognition of students performing and greeting prior to the meeting. Reports and presentations. Proclamation for a week of suicide prevention, accountability 2018-2019. Comment, recess, reconvene in regular session, board discussion of agenda items, consent agenda items. Action by the Board of Education adopting consent agenda means that all items appearing herein are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board requests that such item be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately. Keep reading.
present, recessed and reconvened open session in the board conference room, adjourned regular session, convened executive session, adjourned executive session is now reconvened open session at 8:20 p.m. in the boardroom with a quorum present. We will move on to accepting consent agenda. Do I have a motion accepting consent agenda items? Oh. Okay, so there's no way, I guess, we have a little malfunction on the deal, so I have a motion by Trustee Luevanos. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Robbins. Trustee Robbins, any discussion? No discussion. There we go. It's on the screen. You all have it? Okay. Yeah? Okay, no discussion, then can we vote? Okay. Please move the vote. Motion passes 6-4 and 0 against. We do not have any items that were removed from consent agenda, so we will move on to personnel. Do I have a motion for this evening's personnel appointments? A motion by Mr. Robbins, a second by Trustee Dar. Any discussion? Looks like no discussion. Please move to vote. Motion passes 6-4 and 0 against. Dr. Scribner, I believe you'd like to make some announcements.
Thank you very much, President Ramos and members of the Fort Worth ISD school community. We are very excited tonight to have been able to welcome to our school community 3 leadership positions. The first, the Executive Director of Equity and Professional Learning. We will be welcoming Dr. Doreen Benavides to that position. Let's give her a round of applause. Welcome, Dr. Benavides. We're looking forward to working with you. Also, here, 2 individuals who have been with Fort Worth ISD for several years. First, the Executive Director of Instructional Initiatives is Ms. Aaliyah Hobbs. Give her a round of applause. And our third and final recommendation for tonight, our new Senior Technology Officer, Mr. Migdeni Mojica. Congratulations to all 3. We are looking forward to hit the ground running tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Righty. Thank you, Dr. Scribner, and congratulations to all. Look forward to the work you're going to be doing. We will now move on to the final part, or almost the final part of our agenda with action agenda items. We'll move on to 17A, approve resolution calling for the redemption of current outstanding district bond obligations and providing for their payment at redemption and authorization to designate district officers, effectuate the redemption of these obligations, and to approve other matters in connection with the redemption. So we have a motion by Trustee Luevanos. We have a second by Trustee Robbins. Any discussion on this item? Looks like no discussion. Please move the vote. Motion passes 6-4 and 0 against. I believe Trustee Evans has motion for 17B.
President Ramos, I move to approve the ordinance adopting the following 2019-2020 tax rate for Fort Worth Independent School District: an ad valorem maintenance and operation tax of $0.99 per $100 of valuation of property, an ad valorem interest and sinking tax rate of $0.29 per $100 valuation of property, and to further approve that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a total tax rate of $1.28 per $100 valuation of property, which is effectively a 4.64% increase in the tax rate, as more fully outlined in the ordinance adopting the district's 2019-2020 tax rates made part of the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you. So we have a motion by trustee Evans and we have a second by trustee Robbins. Any discussion on this item? Looks like no discussion. Please move the vote. Motion passes 6-4 and 0 against. Moving on to 17C, approve second reading revisions to board policies DCD local and DEC local. A motion? A motion by trustee Robbins and a second by trustee Luevanos. Any discussion? Looks like no discussion. Please move the vote. Motion passes 6-4 and 0 against. Looks like we have come to the end of our action items. We get to number 18, comments by board members or superintendent on current district activities and announcements. Do we have any comments by board members or the superintendent? Trustee Luevanos?
Thank you, President Ramos. A couple of weeks ago, I and Dr. Scribner and Josh De Leon delivered supplies to two schools in Fort Lauderdale, Cesar Chavez and Hubbard Heights, I believe. So I want to thank the community who comes together to donate these school supplies for the teachers who are going to make an impact on our students. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments by the board or superintendent? Trustee Evans?
To Mr. Baker's point earlier from public comment, I actually did have the opportunity to visit one of my campuses this week, South High Mount, and I got to visit with some teachers and the principal and get their firsthand account of how things are going on campus. And it was great to get their perspective in here.
Great. Any other comments? There are no other comments. This meeting is adjourned. Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is 5:30 p.m. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551, the meeting is officially open with a quorum present. We'll begin the meeting with the pledges to the U.S. and the Texas flags. We ask that you please stand and join.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Clint Bond with Communications Team will be introducing our student guests the evening.
Martinez is the principal. We'll thank them for their assistance as soon as I introduce them. First is Cadet Major Adriana Rodriguez, if she would stand, please. Cadet Sergeant First Class Elizabeth Del Rio. Cadet Staff Sergeant America Rios. And Cadet Staff Sergeant Alexia Dominguez. Senior Army instructor at Northside is Major Raul Padilla, and the director of JROTC programs is Colonel Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Bond, and I apologize for that because I know I jumped over to 6A on the agenda, but probably so. We recognize the young people. Thank you for being here. We'll now move on to item number 3, the public hearing on the proposed 2019 tax rate. This public hearing is now called to order. Ms. Shira, are you ready to give your report?
Yes. August annually, we are required to holding theme legislative property tax. That was in property tax was incorporated. Look at so for one $1 this year they mandated a 7 to enrichment 6 cents before. So now our at 90 are closed 99. As far as our and we will be using payments out on all for construction under the 2017 CIP. Tonight, on early dollar paying your house by $5 over the next. You should know that our BC looks to 2021 mandates the limit amount of we must be mindful. This is illustrative of the redemption. For the 2009 $8 7 cents lower. There's tax $35 point. However, it is not is because it's a comparison to what's called illustrate ordinance adopted that if simply paid taxes paid this amount of tax property income, and that's not property. This year, for illustration, not setting of the average. David and I have so to state aid is actually being the so simply say it is likely because of this year there's
These are these this is the revenue. This incorporate is deficit 2 million. I want to remind is that revenue will act in the budget. Heard it. Non-op step test it goes it more. Kind of
have any, I've just gotten a note. You need to, us Be nice to take a recess about 7 this meeting. I'm going to recess us, and then we'll come back to that so that that's